I want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Suma, a lot of people seem to think the Chiefs defense will be improved a lot this year. Part of that optimism is because of Charles Omenihu, one of the edge rushers that they signed. We now learned that he's suspended for 6 games. How significantly, if at all, do you downgrade the Chiefs defense while he's out? And how good do you think this defense can be?
I don't think that we're going to see a top 10 defense for the Chiefs. Um, I like their disease specs. He's doing some good stuff, especially as the season progresses and he knows what players he's working with. I think that they got a lot of good play from these young cornerbacks last year, from like fourth and fifth round picks. But secondary play is in general highly volatile. And outside of Chris Jones, they basically had no one going to free agency. I think signing Omenahu was a good signing, a good cheap signing. If he doesn't play, you're basically looking at last year's first rounder to banking on him to make a major leap. I would downgrade them because as soon as a team loses some edge rush power, um, that's never a good idea. But we should be looking at the Chris Jones situation, because Chris Jones is probably seeking like 24 to 25 million or something, and I'm not sure that the Chiefs are going to pay him that. So, an interesting situation. Jonathan Taylor will likely going to end up playing, but I would not be surprised if this holdout of Chris Jones will linger some longer.
Yeah, and he's one of those 5 defensive players in the league where when he's out, it's going to be noticeable, especially a team like the Chiefs who rely heavily on him and they don't have the greatest supporting cast around them. One of the big stories coming out of camp is this wide receiver, Justin Ross, who has been a sensation. Now, he was undrafted last year, but I want to give some context. He was an immensely talented player who had serious medical concerns to the point that he might never play football again. And he was all but assured to be a red shirt last year. So, like, with that context out of the way, Jeff, are you buying Justin Ross stock? And do you buy camp hype with guys that are completely unknowns who just blow it up?
I mean, with, just because of what goes on there and how they can make stars, and they sort of let their biggest receiver leave in order to just, to free up the salary to let things happen. Mahomes could make anyone a star. That's what great quarterbacks do. They'll, maximize those guys. Am I believing the hype? Not to the certain extent, but nothing that goes on there will surprise me. They're so great. They've proven to be so great on both sides of the ball. Fabian mentioned how they've been so good at developing young defensive players. Well, at the same time, they've been so good at developing all parts of their offense, their young players that have filled the gaps when they've had to let some higher price guys go. I'm in a weird spot here. I don't believe any parts of the Chiefs' demise at all. At all.
They even they get a 6th round guard, Trey Smith, and he just ends up being one of the best guards in football. And, they draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 1st round, but they get more production out of guys that were like retreads everywhere else, or like a 7th round pick like Pacheco. I want to stick with the pass catchers though. Kadarius Toney sounds like he might be ready for week 1. Hitman, how do you think the division of catches will be distributed in Kansas City? Like, Kelsey's number 1, but if you had to put some money down, who do you think are going to develop as the number 2 and 3 options moving forward?
The player that I'm most confident is locked into his role and will be on the field the most is MVS for them. Now, MVS is not a high target share earner, but he's the guy that I think is going to get a ton of snaps. His role is set. As far as like guys that are going to get the biggest target share, I think probably it would be Sky Moore is going to be in there and in the slot, and he'll be the most consistent guy as far as playing week in and out and getting more targets this season. And then when Kadarius Toney's in the game, last year his targets per route run was like absolutely insane. Like, they were manufacturing a lot of touches to him, but it's a matter of like throughout the whole season is, one, how long is this guy going to go without getting injured? How long is he going to go without doing something stupid that gets him in trouble? We don't know about that. So it's kind of a wild card. And then you have just so many guys after them. Justin Watson's going to make the team and probably be a game day active because he's very valuable to them on special teams, and he plays snaps for them at wide receiver also. So he's probably in. You have Richie James that you just signed. Rashid Rice is obviously going to make the team. He was a second-round pick. So I know you were mentioning Justin Ross earlier. It's tough to see how he does get into this room. He would have to be really impressive to get on the field. And it's really a crapshoot, to be honest. But the best guess is as far as snaps, locked in role, MVS, and as far as targets, Sky Moore and Tony would probably have the biggest target share when he's actually in the game.
I imagine it's a little like volatile game by game, depending on who Andy Reid wants to pick on. And like, you must be looking at the props board when it opens up and just thinking like, there's a wide range on everybody here. The number can look very appealing and also stand no chance if he's just not part of the game plan that week, right?
Yeah, but uncertainty is beneficial to the bettor. It's not beneficial towards the sports books, and there's a lot of ways to take advantage of it. You could take advantage of it pre-flop. If there's some shops that you have that are offering live betting, player props during that first game, kind of see how the snaps and the targets are going in game one, maybe have an in-play play. So there's a lot of ways to take advantage of the uncertainty in the Kansas City wide receiver room.